All right. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the AI Survival Guide Business Edition. Today's topic is AI-powered productivity, streamlining workflows for distributed teams. And I'm very excited to welcome a good friend here, Skyler Birk-Stachon. He's the go-to-market lead at Optimization, where he helps businesses optimize productivity and streamline workflows using AI-driven tools like Notion and Zapier. But Skyler's journey into optimization started with a passion for improving efficiencies in distributed teams, which led him to become an expert in no-code and low-code business operations. He's also the founder of Tech Pickleball NYC, a growing community that blends technology and networking in a unique way. So Skyler, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, when you and I were chatting, I was like, oh, you'll be a great guest. I think like what you do and how you help all these people and companies when it comes to productivity and uncovering tools like Notion. I think a lot of people are not aware that they can work smarter, not harder.
It's such an interesting world and like kind of like a shift in like the way that businesses are running these days, where these no and low code productivity tools like Notion are really starting to take over. But I think we're really like coming in right now at like the first wave of it, where people really want to optimize the way that they work, but they don't really know how, and they're only scratching the surface of what's actually possible. And so it's really exciting to kind of see what this first wave is, because everyone comes in with different skill gaps, different excitement levels, and different things of understanding of what's actually possible.
So like, how did you get into this?
It's it's such a funny story. So I will start by prefacing this with I am actually and was not actually a Notion guy. I actually thought that Notion was just like a note taking app, like a really cool one. And so at a previous role I was at, I was new to New York, and I was going to every networking event that I possibly could to try to meet as many people as I could. And I got invited to a Notion meetup, and I was like, oh, sure, why not? This is like 2.5 years ago at this point. So I walk into this meetup and I'm talking to this guy named Tem, and I'm like, oh, what do you do? And he's like, oh, well, I'm the founder of this Notion consultancy. And I'm like, that's cool, but like, why would anyone need a Notion consultancy? Like, isn't it just a note taking app? And he's like, oh, well, actually, it's a lot more than that, blah, 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 blah. And he's talking, and I'm going to be completely honest, I was fully zoned out. As he's talking, he unironically rolled up his sleeve and he had Notion tattooed on his arm. And my jaw literally hit the floor, and I was like, hold up. Why do you have Notion tattooed on your arm? It's like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And funny enough, I got his number, thought he was interesting, but like we didn't really follow up conversations. Pretty much a year exactly after we first met, he called me up out of the blue and he's like, hey, Skyler, Notion guy, tattoo on the arm. Hope you remember me. The company's doing pretty well, but I really am tired of doing founder led sales anymore. Like, I'm a Notion guy. I just want to build. I don't really want to do sales. Are you interested in coming over and taking over my sales and go to market team? I was like, yeah, maybe, but like honestly, like I don't really know that much about Notion. Like, give me an example. Like, who do you work with? And he's like, oh, we've worked with like Discord, Cash App, Chime, things of those nature. And I'm like, oh, oh, okay. I see what you're talking about. And he's like, yeah, but my problem is I can close like the large fish that like Notion gives us on a platter, like in terms of referrals, but like anything else, I'm a lost cause. I don't know how to build effective marketing strategies. I don't know how to build an outbound strategy. I don't know how to build go-to-market initiatives, and I don't know how to build scalable sales processes. And that's where I came in. And a year and a half later, we've never looked back.
That's it. That's an amazing story, and then like I think for a lot of people who still don't understand Notion, if you were to summarize like what is Notion to what people think it is to what it really is, can you give us you know a quick overview?
I'm going to answer this in a few different ways. So the first way is if you don't know what Notion is, the simplest way I explain it to people to get them interested is I say it's like Google Drive on crack. And they're like, well, that sounds cool. What Notion really is it's like an infinitely customizable blank canvas of ultimate power. Like anything that you can think of, is probably possible in Notion. That could mean project management, task management, automating your onboarding tasks, having it be like a knowledge base, a repository for all your company's information, all your personal information, a second brain, things of that nature. It could be your centralized digital headquarters, your single source of truth for your company. Anything that you think is possible in Notion probably is, but it's fairly challenging because of its infinite customization. Notion's biggest selling point is also its biggest curse. And it's fairly challenging to actually get to what you want and get to that final version. And so that's kind of where people get really, really excited about Notion, and then they can't figure out how to set it up optimally. And then it kind of gets into this weird push and pull thing.
Yeah, when you and I first chatted, because I was looking for that customization central, just thinking out of the box of like, if I could create something that is a central database, my wiki, right? Also a dashboard interface that clients can have and see like progress of all their projects, an internal interface for my team, project management, my own note taking thing. So like, because of course we all have different tools. But then if we can centralize it, that's a win. But then not every tool, even though they claim they can centralize it, Skyler, can actually do it well. So when you and I chatted, I was actually really impressed with, as you were uncovering its capabilities, but also making me feel better about its like the benefits and features of what it can do. And then we weave in some AI too, of course. Like, I think this is a hidden gem that a lot of people aren't really considering.
Yeah, and Notion AI specifically is so hot right now, and people are only like getting to the first stage of what's possible. People think, oh, it's just like, another GPT. And while that is true, it really is like a build on top of your workspace, on top of your knowledge base. But the problem is, and why people aren't getting the most out of it, is it's only going to be as good as the knowledge that you have in there and how organized it is. So if you can organize Notion to truly be your company's centralized digital headquarters, your single source of truth that's structured in a way that makes sense for everyone, you can then use Notion AI to its full capabilities and do some really, really powerful stuff and build some really, really cool kind of game-changing automations.
And we're hearing it. You and I hear it. A lot of people are hearing the buzzwords, right? Like AI everywhere, AI and productivity. Like, what's your take on companies who are kind of waiting versus companies who are actually diving in and like embracing and putting AI into business workflows? And then if you can share some use cases, that'd be great as well.
Totally. So I think anyone who isn't at least trying to use AI workflows to get ahead is falling behind. Like, we are really in like the first wave of people figuring out like what's possible and what they're going to be able to leverage. And so I think like most things, you might as well get in there and try, figure out what's possible, figure out what you can build on. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. You fail on your face, you learn from it, and you build something better. But if you're sitting on the sidelines waiting, like, you're falling behind and you're just losing out to all your competitors for no reason. I think some of my favorite workflows, we're seeing a lot of really, really interesting ones depending on the use cases. I'll give you some examples. We work with
Skyler, just quickly, if you could do it by department, I think because we different people, different listeners, from to try to maybe just make it kind of real to them, if like marketing, sales, service,
definitely.
things like that.
Absolutely. So I'll start with like one that's like the most obvious and the most kind of easy to quantify one. So agencies. Agencies have like a lot of repeatable processes that they're doing very manually. An example of this could be, let's say you're a content agency. You have a lot of different flows. You could be podcasts. This could be ghostwriting on the back end. When you sign that new client, there's going to be a million onboarding tasks. What you can really use AI, use low and no code tools, use Notion for, is to really automate that client portal creation, pull in all that information from your CRM that's automatically going to get pulled into that client portal that can be leveraged in Notion. It'll then basically trigger automations to have all your onboarding tasks be naturally created, assigned to the right people, and really streamline that full onboarding process. Once that onboarding process has been created and has been automated and optimized as much as possible, you can then get into all of the actual processes and tasks that go into delivering client work. So this could be record the podcast. Now it goes to the editor. Editor finishes that. He's then going to ship it to the copywriter who's going to draft social post. And you can really build this like almost like hamster wheel, flywheel effect of just automating all of these processes. We've seen for some of the agencies that we've worked with, Meta Lab, Thursday Labs, they've been able to go from like 5% automated stack when they start working with us, coming in to like 90+%. And that increases and it frees up their capacity to be able to handle like 10x more client capacity just by automating and streamlining processes.
If you best guess, Skyler, like how many hours do you think they're saving per week, per month from that exact scenario?
Hours, I mean, at least 10 hours a day in the company per person, probably 1 to 2 at least. But I think like my favorite kind of way to think about this and what you can really do is instead of thinking about like somebody told me this a while ago. They said, Skyler, no company actually cares about saving time. They have to pay for the time no matter what. So it isn't how many hours you can save in a day, right? It's what you can actually do with those hours to drive business revenue and drive it forward and figure out the ROI. So if you take like a content agency like Thursday Labs or Meta Lab, product design agency, it's not how many hours did we save their employees by automating all their processes. It's how much capacity did we free up, which basically allows them to then close more clients and be able to take on that capacity. So if their services are $8K a month, let's say that, and their current capacity was 2 clients per person, we were able to increase that to 10 clients that they can now close in a month because all their processes are manual and they have the operational infrastructure. That's going to generate them 8 times 8, at least 64K in MRR. And that's just scratching the surface of what's possible with those automations.
I agree with you. I think a lot of people, they connect with hours, Skyler, but what you and I always try to do is like, how do we equate this to dollars, right? What's the bottom line? Because it's all about productivity and people all lead eventually to profitability, right? Because every business is trying to figure that out across different channels and departments. And like, okay, where are we losing money in productivity, like from a productivity standpoint? Where are we losing productivity, which leads in where we lose money, vice versa. So, but I think it's great for people to like really understand and see that it's like, yes, like these are the opportunities of capacity and we can handle more. But there's a blend too, which I don't know if you get into this conversation. Skylar's like, all right, so we free up capacity, but then do we keep pushing our people, because people feel burnt out? Do you ever get into that conversation when it comes to, okay, so am I doing 5 times more work? That's you're freeing up that time. I understand what you're trying to do here, but then am I working a lot even more?
It's a super interesting push and pull. I think every, agency is going to be different and the way that they handle it's going to be unique. But the idea should be that basically the automations that you're creating, you're basically making it so that instead of doing the manual work, the admin stuff that everyone thinks is necessary, you know, updating the CRM, moving things to the next stage, creating tasks for people, sending Slack messages, checking in with people, things of that nature that is very admin that feels like you're busy, but is actually not deriving anything forward. Those are the things that can be automated and that can be freed up. So while you may have a increase in client size, the actual amount of work and the actual amount of time that you're spent ends up balancing out.
Right.
And then you're just more efficient. So you're naturally going to be less burnt out.
Yeah, I mentioned, I spoke to an HR director and they said, Kham, like, as much as we're looking at KPIs, like, I see a lift in just attitudes. Like, people are willing to take on projects. They're like, yeah, no problem. Like, another person, she mentioned that typically was like negative, had a completely different demeanor. So I think like seeing these productivity gains with the help of AI has been really great for culture.
Yeah. And I've got another example, so I won't keep it to just agencies. So here's another example for an engineering department. So take a CTO of a Series B company. This is the one that I talked to, Series B company, about 250 employees. The CTO originally came to me and he said, Skyler, our problem is that our information is scattered across a lot of different tools, and it's really, really hard for our engineers to find information quickly. And I know they're spending too much time searching for information across all these tools. And I said, okay, that sounds like a problem. Let's figure this out. So we went through a deeper discovery and a deeper series of questions, and we found that we estimate on average for them that each engineer is losing about an hour a day due to having to search for information across a lot of different tools and it being scattered. I said, that's great. Everyone in theory wants to save an hour a day, but what does that actually mean in terms of an ROI and in terms of an actual business opportunity? And so what we were able to uncover is, well, what would you do if every engineer on your team had an hour back a day? How many more projects could you ship? And we found out that would be able to ship 2 more projects per year is what they were anticipated to their product team. Each project then being worth $1 million to them, loosely. That means that that hour a day problem that they're losing due to scattered information, by centralizing that information in Notion and consolidating all their tools and their tech stack into Notion specifically, that hour a day problem was then $2 million in uncovered revenue, which made it a no-brainer for the C-suite when it came to like determining the ROI and the budget of the project. A no-brainer to go through it because $2 million in uncovered revenue. And so it's like the framework is like, how do you turn productivity, which has always been a loose term that no one really knows how to quantify? How do you turn that into actual business dollars that are going to drive revenue and drive progress in the company? And I think it's really cool that like now that's actually possible.
Yeah, I mean it's so critical. I think you see like even these larger enterprise companies, they just keep doing the motion and they can't put a pulse on the exact dollar amount. And having tools like Notion helps that. And speaking of other tools, like, are there any other tools, Skylar, that you recommend, to help really kind of help these distributed teams?
I think if you're not leveraging some sort of a automation tool, Zapier, Make, there's other ones like open source like N8N, which is really cool. Um, if you're not learning how to basically build on top of and integrate your entire tech stack and these tools using no code tools, you're also falling behind because just the amount of things that you can automate in your day-to-day life and integrate all your tools that you're already using together, it's pretty insane what the impact can be. So I would recommend either trying to learn it yourself or finding somebody else who can help you with it if you don't have time to do that.
Yeah, Zapier, we love Zapier. I noticed they've put in a lot of investment into almost creating this AI agent arena within their tool stack. Have you seen that, Skylar? Or have you played with it?
Yeah, I haven't spent a ton of time playing with it because I'm not specifically the builder, but I've heard rumblings about it. That's really, really cool and really powerful.
Because we're hearing terms like AI agents in like Salesforce, AI agents in HubSpot, and the true definition of AI agent is like where it executes work for you without any human intervention, right? Without us guiding it. Right now, we're guiding, doing prompting and refining. So um, we see companies who might create like a marketing agent, but really it's just like it's a trained model that understands marketing. A true agent, well, if you say build me a campaign, it just does it,
Yep.
executes. So just be be cautious of what is it, what's an agent that's working on your behalf. And with Notion, I don't know, like if you guys are looking, if you're seeing this in your business, as Notion is like, are they providing some type of agent in the future where you can just have a conversation with it and it's going to like look at all the database, basically the brain of your system, and then easily navigate for if it's a marketing person that's using it, a salesperson, operations person, an HR person, or even an employee who's just trying to like understand like get onboarded. Like, what are some opportunities there with AI helping?
Yeah, I don't know if we're 100% there yet, but you can use Notion AI almost like an agent. You still do need to interact with it, so I wouldn't put it fully at like the full agent level yet, but you can use it to like create tasks would be an example. Like if you were like, hey, Kham, I have a specific task that I need to delegate to you. You need to review my marketing campaign that's going to go out later today. You can give Notion AI all of those prompting, and it's going to automatically create those task triggers. You could do the same for structuring databases. Build me a database of X, Y, and Z thing in an upcoming campaign. Have it build workflows. Have it, find specific information. So we're getting there. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I think it's something that, on the horizon, you can kind of think about like potential Notion agents and really cool workflows like that.
Yeah, a lot of the experts are saying this is the year of the agents. So excited to kind of see what comes out from that, Skyler, this coming year.
We've also built some really, really interesting stuff with call recorders in combination with Notion AI and automatic task creation. So basically, right now we have a workflow where we use Fathom as our call recorder. Whenever a call finishes, it'll then automatically upload the recording, which will then trigger it and put it into Notion. Notion AI then scrapes that call recording and that call recording transcript, and then it's going to auto assign all of the tasks necessary as follow-ups as a result of that, which is pretty cool. It's still like right now, the disclaimer is like you're going to get a lot of notifications and you're going to get a lot of tasks, and not all of them are going to be perfect or relevant. But it's pretty dang good, and it's pretty cool to just see like your inbox flooded with like all the follow-ups that you have to do.
I mean, it's actions. I think a lot of times people go to these meetings and even all the note takers, I use Grain. I know people that use Fathom, Firefly, and it's like, okay, next steps, right? But there's like, but then you see the bullet points. Someone has to then grab that and assign it via email, maybe in a Slack group, or if you have project management like Monday, Asana, we use ClickUp, assign it there. So the fact that you guys, uh, well, that's why you and I talked like, okay, how do we remove some of these tech stacks, right, Scala, to centralize it? Like, because you guys are centralizing it, it was seamless. It's really native and natural flow. You went from meeting notes, AI scrubbing it to like actionable insights, and now it's sitting for the person to take action. Like that's the last part, because until the agents come in and do the work for us.
Exactly.
So I mean, again, how you and I connected, right? Just we still appreciate the human interaction. I love to learn a bit more about the Tech Pickleball and NYC. Like, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Tech Pickleball NYC. Shout out my Tech Pickleball community. Um, so what's really unique about me, I have this framework for like literally everything that I do. Is I think, what would an average person do right now? What would an average go to market person, an average seller, an average X? And I think, what would they do in this situation? And then I do the opposite. So optimization, we're a small 12-person bootstrap startup, right? Nobody knows who we are in the general realm of the world. So here I am in New York, and I'm thinking, how can I get more brand value? How can I get myself more prospecting opportunities with qualified leads at these tech giants? One day, I find this guy, he's the VP of marketing at a pretty large tech company. He was complaining about their Notion setup. And I was like, boom, huge opportunity right here. Let's get it. He doesn't respond to any of my messages, cold calls, videos, you name it. Then one day I see him post on LinkedIn, hey, I'm going to be in New York for a bunch of events this week. Who plays pickleball in New York? I'm like, oh, I can. Disclaimer, I did not play pickleball at the time, did not have a net. I'm a tennis player, kind of thought pickleball was lame. He responds, he's like, okay, great, set us up a game. So I immediately go buy a net. I live across the street from a park. And so I set up a pickleball game with him, and he brings over 3 other C-suite executives from large tech companies. And I'm sitting there at 8 a.m. on a Thursday going, I couldn't pay to get in the room with these people. Like, this is incredible. And so I thought, what if I just like made this a thing like every single week? Like, I'll bring people coffee and bagels. We'll see what happens. I'll just invite people and see if they want to come play pickleball and hang out and talk about tech. And over the course of the last 8 months, it's grown to a community of 1,500 plus people, talking founders, C-suite execs, VCs, operators, you name it, in New York and in the tech community. I think it's technically the largest recurring community in New York. Every Friday morning, McCarran Park in Williamsburg, 7:30 to 9:30, free coffee, free bagels, tons of pickleball nets. We get like 50 to 100 people. And it's really cool to just like see what happens, because people really want to connect with other people in tech. But what they don't want is to constantly be sold to, which is what happens at networking events. So instead, it's just a really cool way to generate some human to human connection and interaction with some light activity and a shared common ground, which is pickleball. It's not competitive. It's not serious. It's not that deep. Tons of people come for the first time, and we just have a blast. And like, people develop really genuine relationships as a result of it. And if there becomes a business opportunity, a partnership opportunity, a friendship, I've seen people like literally sublet apartments as a result of it. And yeah, it's just it's really cool. I love my community.
Kudos. I mean, that's the essence, of just the man generation, which was just really building that community. Because then now you have this trusted network of people, and it's easy when you have. I think selling comes natural, right? If you have a product or a service, it just comes up organically, and it's, oh yeah, like I know that person. Oh, I go to that. I've been to that pickleball event thing. Like, yeah, make an introduction. So really great for what you put together, Skyler. And I'm thinking to myself here, I wonder where, because like the pickleball courts here in my town are always packed. Like I never not see it packed from morning to evening. So I got to figure out where I can find some space. I think what you have here is a great idea.
Just wait, we're gonna franchise it soon. I'll help you build it.
Sweet.
In Massachusetts. But yeah, it's just it's cool. It's something I was gonna say on that, but
if it comes up, feel free to share.
oh yeah, I was just gonna say, like, when you have a community like that that's like organic and genuine and like comes from the right principles. Like if anyone thinks about Notion, right? Or ever has a Notion question, who are they ever gonna go to? The Notion guy.
Correct. I mean, sales. I mean, what you really do, you're bringing brand awareness and marketing, right? You bring people together, community building. Then from there, the sales will just happen when it's ready, like at their own time, at their own control. So again, what you're doing is amazing. We have a few minutes left here, Skyler. So, all the stuff that you said is great. A lot of people are trying to implement some of these AI workflows, right? But like, what are some pitfalls? And what do you see that people are doing? Like, how can they avoid, not getting to what they're trying to achieve with AI workflows?
Yeah, great question. This one gets asked all the time. I think the biggest thing is to try to build without road mapping. So I think a big thing is people like love the buzzword and love the concept of an AI workflow, but they don't actually know what they're trying to optimize for, and they don't know what the result of that is going to be. Instead, what I always recommend is take a step back first. Map out, what is the pain point that I'm actually trying to solve for? What is the workflow? Like, not just like what the workflow is, but like what is the defined workflow, the actual process and the actual thing that I'm trying to solve for? And then try to figure out, what is the success criteria? Like, what does success look like in this automation? And then have a definition of like, what is going to be the result of that? What that does is it gives you basically a process map and a roadmap and a success criteria before you actually go out and start building. So that way, when you actually start to build the workflow, when you start to train the GPTs, when you train the agents, they're actually going to know what success looks like, instead of kind of just randomly building and crossing your fingers and hoping that, it works out. So I always recommend that you process map, that you roadmap, that you really think about mapping this stuff out before you start building.
Yeah, thank you for bringing up the process map part. I think people really need to visually see the process versus just speaking it out, because seeing it and then hearing it, like you start to uncover like, oh, what if we try to automate here? Or okay, there's too much automation, right? To your point, let's just try this part here. Let's see, like, can we win here first? Do a small little pilot, and then roll out the rest to get adoption. So no, great tips there, Skyler. I am gonna reach out to you, and we'll try to build a group here for the Tech Pickleball in Massachusetts, and then maybe we'll do like a New York versus Massachusetts group competition.
Dude, let's make it happen.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining, Skyler. How can people connect with you? How can they reach out?
Yeah, if you ever want to chat anything related to Notion, lower no code automation, productivity, or just want to chat about anything fun, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on there. I post almost twice a day. I've done that for pretty much the last year. You can email me, skyler@optimization.com, spelled exactly like that. You can cold call me. You can text me. You can show up at my apartment. You can show up at Pickleball. I'm out there. I'm easy to find.
All right. Awesome. Well, Scott, I'm looking forward to having you coming back. We'll probably, peel the onion on a couple other workflows. But yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks so much for having me, Kham. Appreciate it, everyone.